Listen to this episode if you are a business owner, but you are unsure if you're truly acting like a founder or like an operator. This is a conversation I am constantly having with my clients, that just because we own a business doesn't mean that we are actually acting as if we are a founder. 90% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. Let that sink in. 90%, 9 out of 10 business owners will not be able to be successful in the first 5 years of their business and ultimately have to shut their business down. And I would put my money on the fact that one individual out of the 9 that makes it knows how to be a founder, knows how to become an actual business owner, not just somebody that is operating a business. There is 2 very big distinctions here. And after being somebody that has worked with 500 plus businesses, has been in the depths of many businesses, some that are super successful and some that fizzle out just because of the nature of business. When I am looking at businesses in general, the 1 out of the 10 that are genuinely successful, that tend to actually see real results, real momentum, the people that tend to outpace the others understand the difference between what we're going to talk about today. This is one of my favorite conversations because I always am talking about strategy. I'm talking about playbook. I am talking about the tangible, the tactics, the strategies, things like that. But a lot of times it actually comes back to the person. You know, one of my business coaches, George Bryant, he always talks about the difference between the player and the playbook. The playbook is all the strategies, the tactics, and all of that. You can have some of that. You need that. You need the strategies. You need the tactics. You need the actual business principles, but you also need to be a player that can hold it. You need to be the person and the founder that can actually hold that level of success and that is actually acting as though, because you can't outwork a business owner that is not actually acting as a business owner. Because a lot of times, I know many of you are either solo entrepreneurs or that you are at least still the driving force and the CEO behind your brand. You are the person that is driving it forward, trying to grow the business. You have a small team, but you are still the person in charge of growing the business. What you have to be able to do is understand the right actions, the right mental state, the right way to handle situations in order to really see the growth that you are looking for. I really want to talk about the difference between something that I see this often, but I don't actually often talk about it. There's a big difference between owning a business and actually thinking like a founder and acting like a founder. And if I'm being honest, I really do think that this is one of the biggest reasons people plateau, people aren't successful, because I've seen the people that are, my clients that are successful are the ones that know how to change this. You know, they're smart, they're capable, they work hard, but oftentimes if you're still operating like operators and not founders, you're going to stay small. Today, I want to talk to you about what I call an entrepreneurial IQ, what it actually is, and how you start acting like a founder instead of just reacting to your business. A lot of people, you actually need to be proactive instead of being reactive. That is what we're talking about today. We have quite a few different kind of mindset shifts, strategies that you need to follow and things that you need to really fully understand today that we're going to talk about it. What do I mean by entrepreneurial IQ? What is the biggest trap that I see? What does acting like a founder start with? Knowing what you need to spend your energy on. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, identity shifts that you need to make and why this truly matters in 2026. And then of course, as always, we will wrap it up with some action items that I want you to take today in order to really make this shift, because you can listen to all of these information without implementation is never going to actually be fully helpful. So I just want to take 10 quick seconds before we dive into the meat and bones of this to say hello. My name is Madison Page. Just in case you're new here, I am a consumer brand growth specialist, meaning I help product-based founders become the next household name in their industry. I have probably worked with one of your favorite brands to help them be seen, get on shelves, and become the name that they are today by using some of the strategies that we will be talking about today. So make sure that you are subscribed to the episode. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday, and we're always dropping tactics, guest experts, and really good conversations that you need to have in business to be able to be successful. first things first, what do I actually mean by entrepreneurial IQ? We started to talk about this actually on Tuesday's episode, and I decided to kind of move this episode up while I was recording it because I do think I want to extend on what an entrepreneurial IQ actually is, because I talk about it a lot, but I don't know if you've actually fully heard the full gist of it. When I say entrepreneurial IQ, I'm not just talking about intelligence or, that you have to be the brightest bulb in the bunch or the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to business. What I'm talking about here is really the how when it comes to business. It's like nursing or teaching. They had to learn the how to be a nurse or a teacher or, a plumber or anything, any profession, an attorney, a doctor, all of those things took a specific license, took specific jumps. It doesn't even have to be college, but it took specific expertise for them to get there. They had to learn the how. When a teacher goes into school, they don't know. The example that I gave in Tuesday's episode was a mom. They bring their baby home from the hospital. Their mom IQ is teeny tiny. They don't know what they're going to do. They have the general sense of what it looks like, but you don't fully know. You're kind of like, what do I do now for eternity? Like, what does this look like? You don't know how to react to certain situations. You don't know how to react to certain questions. You don't know how to fully take care of this or that or all of these other things. I'm not a mom yet. And I know when I am, I can't wait to call all of the moms on my list to be like, what am I doing? Can't wait to call my mom, because they all have gone through this process of learning an entrepreneurial IQ. They learned the playbook and they had built their own player to basically consistently build up the distinction of that they are now a mom. They know how to handle situations. They know how to do these certain things. That also comes with business too. It includes what business principles do you know from marketing and sales and branding and, all actual business principles, tangible intelligences. Do you have the skill sets? Similar to moms, do you know how to handle certain things? Do you know what your stance is on all of these different things? How do you make decisions is another big one. Are you making decisions quickly? My clients that are the most successful make very quick decisions. How you prioritize based on what your data says. Again, going back to moms or teachers, you can basically kind of feel out how your kids are feeling on certain situations or how your students are feeling in certain instances and how you adapt based on what's actually going on. As a business owner, you have to be able to do this as well by looking at your data and saying, what actions am I taking? What decisions am I taking? What do I need to prioritize based on what's happening? Again, as a teacher, if your whole class is failing, you're going to adjust what you teach. You're going to adjust how you're teaching it. You're going to adjust your approach. So in business, if you're struggling to grow, we have to adjust the approach. We have to be able to prioritize. We have to understand what is actually happening here. Why are all of our posts failing and how can we really adjust it? What you spend your time on, what you spend your money on, because it will pay off, kind of the mindset around understanding that a lot of these things are investments. It's not just an expense. You're putting the time in now to get the long-term payoff in the future, and how quickly you are able to handle problems. Again, moms are able to handle problems like absolute powerhouses. Even my friends that are moms, I'm like, your nervous system just operates differently than mine because you just tackle a problem and nothing is a big deal anymore because you've seen crazy stuff. You're like, oh, that's no big deal. I'm gonna just take care of it because that's what moms do. Same as business owners. We see some crazy stuff. You guys would absolutely want to faint at some of the P&Ls that I've looked at in people's business or, some of the data in the behind the scenes and how they are able to handle these problems, how things, when they're crashing, how do we handle them? This is what it means to have an entrepreneurial IQ. What we are talking about here is being able to hold the stress, the information, the organization, the systems and the structures that it takes to be able to be a business owner. Again, when we look at learning how to become a teacher, if you go to school to be a teacher, you have to learn how to handle the stress of it, how to have the knowledge of it. You have to have a well-rounded approach to being a teacher, how to adapt. How do we make decisions? What do we do in crisis? What do we do when our whole class fails? What are we doing in these certain situations? You have to do the same as a business owner. So today, I want to talk about what are the main things that you need to know and understand. What are the main kind of mindset shifts and identity shifts that you need to have? I want want to talk about major traps that you might get stuck into in your mind. I want to talk about, what founder-led thinking really looks like in practice and how can you really make these changes to make sure that you are not thinking as an operator that's just running a business, because at that point, you're just building yourself a 9-to-5. You're not building yourself a business. And that's a really big difference that we see here. So when I really talk about the biggest trap that I see business owners get in is that they're busy and they see themselves as busy and they see themselves like that is good. They have a lot on their list and that means that they're taking action. They're answering emails, they're tweaking products, they're posting content, they're launching new collections, they're fixing problems as they feel like they come up. But that doesn't mean that they're spending time growing and building. I talk a lot about the difference between working on versus working in your business. A founder shouldn't really be working in their business at a certain point. In the beginning, of course, you have to. Don't get me wrong, you have to, but we do still have to spend time, no matter the stage of business that you're at, time thinking and strategizing and analyzing and understanding where do we want to be in 3 years and how do we adapt to what we're doing now. Founders and my clients that are successful, my colleagues that are successful, the people in my world that are making 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures, and really becoming successful aren't just thinking, what do I need to do today? They're saying, what do I need to do today that is going to pay off in 3 to 6 months? What actions do I need to take that are actually going to move the business forward? How do I actually look at a focused approach to what are the 3 major things that I have to do that are constantly moving my business forward? Shipping products, not moving your business forward. Creating products, not moving your business forward. Just simply answering emails, usually not building your business forward. When we're looking at a founder, your mindset doesn't just have to be around what do I need to get done today? Yes, you might have to fulfill orders, make orders, answer those emails. Yes, you have to do those things, but that should be the 20%. Your effort needs to be pushed towards how are we actually building this business and growing this business, and how do I know what I do today actually moves ourselves forward? What I see very often as business owners end up with a 9-to-5, or they end up with a job, not a business. This might be your side hustle right now, but we shouldn't be acting like it. You have to be really thinking of, okay, if I only have 3 hours today, how can I manage those 3 hours to be the most successful 3 hours to actually move my business forward? Do I need to make content? Do I need to reach out to certain people? What do I have to do today that is going to ultimately make the best decision for my business? Do you really think shipping orders is usually in that? And again, you have to do it, but we have to do it in buckets. We have to do it in effective nature here. Some people do need a fulfillment. Sometimes you do need to fulfill your own orders. I get that. I'm not saying that we're trying to outsource everything, but I want 80% of your effort going to things that are actually helping you grow. The question that you should be asking yourself when you sit down at the beginning of your day shouldn't be, what do I need to do today? Your question should be, what do I need to do today to get me closer to where I want to go? Always kind of going back and forth there. What the difference is here is an operator is just getting the things done that need to get done. And then you end up complacent and you're just running the same business every single day. We're never actually looking forward. Acting like a founder really starts with how you make full decisions and how we're moving forward. Something I notice immediately when I look at a business is how the founder is actually operating and speaking about their business and how they're actually looking in there. These operators make decisions based on urgency, emotion, what feels loud in their brain, what they feel like they have to do because, oh my gosh, all of this is like, otherwise things are going to fail. A founder makes a decision that is grounded in data, in direction, in long-term impact. And they have this level of confidence around them that they know if they just take these actions, it's going to happen for them. They're being more proactive rather than reactive. Oftentimes operators are very stuck in the minutia. They're taking really slow action. They overanalyze. They feel like they're doing things that just don't matter. Now, I think details really matter. You hear me say this, disruption is in the details, but you need to understand when you're over detailing everything and when you're actually focusing on something that does need to have a lot of attention. What I see very often is the business owners that are successful make decisions that are grounded, but they do make them quickly. They understand when they have to take an extra 10 to 15 minutes. But if you really think about it, business decisions shouldn't take you hours or days or weeks to make. Nothing in and of itself is actually going to be that damaging that that one decision is going to crash and burn everything down. And if you feel like it is, then okay, take a little bit of time to think about that, but then move on, move forward, look at the data, look at the direction, look at the statistics, because feelings are not fact. And the successful business owners are much more acting off of facts than feelings. They're operating on what do I know to be true? And we're removing the feelings in the areas that have no personal feeling to them. They're not perfect. And I really want to emphasize that, as it doesn't mean that these founders are just like these perfectly put together, organized individuals. It's definitely not the case. They are just pausing before they're reacting, and they're looking at things and they're feeling grounded around it. Again, if we're going to go back to the mom example, it's the difference between a mom blowing up and like, oh my gosh, freaking out and like everything's burning down and I got to do this and I got to do that, and looking at a situation and being like, oh, okay, I can handle that. I know how to do this. I've done this before. Let me call somebody. Let me Google it. Let me figure some of this stuff out. It's the difference between reacting and being proactive and coming at it from a grounded spot. The next part about entrepreneurial IQ that I want to talk about is where your energy goes. Founders don't try to be good at everything. The founders that I know what they are good at, and they know where they matter most. And it's going to be different for everybody. I have some clients that are really good at the creative side. They're really awesome graphic designers and creative executors, and they're really incredible at creating beautiful aesthetics. I have some clients that are really good at coming at product development. They love being in on the product development because that was their craft and it became their business. And I have some clients that are really good at marketing and data and spreadsheets because that is where their training is, and that's where they naturally gravitate towards. That's where their personality gravitates towards. Most founder-led businesses stall because the founder is spending time on things that don't make sense for them. They're over polishing, or they're micromanaging, or they're fixing low impact problems. And even when I have clients that have teams, the founders that are constantly feeling like everything is all jarred up and it's not really working and it's stagnant is because everything still needs to run by them. All of their energy is coming back to them. So what we tweak is that we have to identify that your goal as the founder has to be within a certain bucket where your energy needs to go. Your energy does not need to be in every area. It needs to be where either your zone of genius is or where you are best utilized. Oftentimes clarifying the brand, refining the strategy, building systems, or finding somebody to do so. I saw something the other day that somebody said, hey, I'm a business owner and I've built a really successful business and I don't know marketing, but my colleagues do. I don't know how to get PR opportunities, but my team does. I don't know how to, find a good manufacturer, but my team did. It wasn't as much that their energy had to be in everything. It's that they knew how to either outsource or be able to put that energy into a bucket and say, I'm going to crank out this admin right now. I'm going to crank out this marketing right now. And then I'm going to spend my time, the majority of my time, in the things that are really moving the business forward. My clients that are seeing the most growth realize where their business is, where they are most valuable. We had somebody on a couple of weeks ago from One With Swim. She said becoming a really successful business owner meant that she had to appreciate marketing. She's like, I didn't want to market. I never wanted to be the face of my brand, but I knew in 2026, the place that I was most helpful was building the business and being in marketing. That was my subheading of what I had to focus on because a founder-led brand is really helpful right now. And so even though marketing wasn't her zone of genius, she didn't want to be a marketer, it wasn't where she needed to be, she knew it was what was necessary to build her business forward. Something that really successful founders know is that they don't need to touch everything, but they do need to touch the right things. So a guided question that I would love you to kind of think about right now would be, what are things that you are doing right now that shouldn't be your focus, or that shouldn't even be on your list to do? Or if you are a solo business owner right now, what are the things that you should be putting your energy towards that are going to build the business? Not necessarily where you're going to have the most fun, because where I would have the most fun might be different than what my actual week looks like. But there are certain things on my list that I have to do because I am the business owner. I am the founder of my business. I am the driving force of the growth of my business. So I want you to ask yourself, what are the things that you know you should be doing? You know you should be learning. You know you should be outsourcing. You know that you should be finding somebody to help you with that you are not doing right now, and that you're too in the developing new products and making the products and all of that. When your focus, if you really want to have a household name that goes mass market, that's making big money, and that this is your legacy brands, that you are able to build the freedom that you really want to have, if that's what you want to do, you need to start acting as if you are building those things. You can't stay in this like minutia of things.
If it's okay, I'm going to interrupt this podcast for 30 quick seconds to let you know about the Founders Cafe. It is my completely free podcast community where you can gain access to bonus resources, gain access to me and free coaching calls, as well as build a network of other business owners just like yourself. Business ownership is a lonely game, and we might as well build community, build a network, and have a space to collaborate. We can bring this conversation and all the other conversations we have on this podcast over into this free podcast community and make this a two-way street. I would love to answer your questions there, connect with you, see you on our next free coaching call. Click the link in the show notes and you'll find the link there.
The next thing I really want to talk about is the skill set side. What I've kind of been touching already on is a little bit of the player. We're going to get into the player even more about identity shifts and the founder-led thinking. You know, that's all about the person. A distinction that I do want to make right now is that the playbook is necessary. It is so incredibly necessary, is that not only is this a personal growth endeavor, yes, business is one of the biggest personal growth journeys you'll ever go on. If you don't want to go to therapy, just start a business. It'll force you to go. It'll force you to figure some stuff out, right? The player is really important. We do want to talk about the playbook though. Business owners understand, or founders really understand, that what is necessary in the playbook. Again, if we go back to nurses did have to learn the actual strategies. They had to learn the playbook. They had to learn the frameworks. They had to learn some of these pieces. Nurses go to school to figure out how to put an IV drip in. Teachers go to school to know how to build a really solid lesson plan. Business owners don't have a college barrier to entry to start their business, but that still means that you need to learn the proper strategies, frameworks, and skill set in order to really get there. There's a reason you see these business owners all the time that say they're like a serial entrepreneur, which I think is really silly, but it is a possibility. People do. It is a word. It is something. But there is a reason that those people own 5 businesses, that start 3 businesses, that, you know, when one person is successful, they exit that business and they have an even more successful business in just a couple of years. It's because they've learned the playbook. They've already become the player because they're already successful. They've already done all the personal growth that needs to get there. Now, all they have to do is integrate the playbook into it and it goes. That's why my clients can kind of fast track and compound this timeline of they could do this on their own for 3 to 5 years and try to figure out the playbook on their own. But I teach them the playbook and I help them and give them resources to become the player to be able to actually go there. I have mindset coaches. I have people that are helping them through the player side of things. So what we have to do here is, yes, we have this player mentality, but you do have to balance it with the playbook. So I want you to ask yourself, what are the things that you don't know how to do right now that are on your plate that you don't know? That might be the player side of things. So going back to energy, you might have to be able to identify what are the energetic pieces that, yes, I should be spending my time on learning those things. Is it the marketing principles? Or how to hire the right person, building a solid brand story, or how to hire the right person that knows how to do that, or, you know, what to focus on and what to just get done, what to really spend a lot of time on and what to really move forward, or how to hire the right person to do that. You have to do each of these things. If you are really good at something in your business, what are you really good at? And you either have to learn how to be good at other things inside of your business, marketing, sales, building websites, things like that. Or you have to find somebody that is, they'll help you get there. And so we do have to really touch on the fact that yes, the player and the playbook are a real thing. You know, you do need to be able to be a person that can hold success and that knows how to make proper actions, proper decisions, but that comes with understanding the playbook. These two things have to go right alongside of each other. You do need to understand what a business brand pillar is. You do have to understand what an optimized sales funnel looks like. You do have to understand, how do I analyze data in order to do this, or hire somebody that does. Kind of going back to player here, if we look at the identity shift, something that a lot of people really avoid in this is going to be becoming a founder isn't about adding more responsibility. As a business owner, we oftentimes think that busy is actually a sign of growth. What it actually comes down to is it's actually about letting go of certain roles that you've always seen yourself in. You have to stop being either A, the person that does everything, or hey, I'm not a numbers person. We put these identities on ourselves. I'm not a numbers person. I hear that all the time. I get that. You don't have to be a numbers person to be able to interpret data. I'm not asking you to do calculus. Shopify does the hard work for you. You just have to be able to interpret it. You need the skill set to be able to understand it. So this isn't the fact that you have to do everything. You have to, well, you're just good at this and this is what you want to be doing. We have to be able to check our own identity. You are the person who sets the direction. You are the person that presses the accelerator of the car. You are the driving force of your business. And you have this whole thing built around you. You have this whole vehicle built around you, but you are the person that is pressing the gas pedal and the brake pedal. And you have to be able to say, do I know how to drive? Do I know how to move this forward? And what am I doing in order to make this as successful as possible? And your identity shift has to be, you might not be a business person. You might be the first person in your life that has ever been successful, and that's okay. This can happen to you. Your product isn't boring. We have to be able to identify what are these stories that we're telling ourselves in order to really get there. And something that I found really powerful in business, and I have been in rooms with people that have a much smaller business than me, and I have been in rooms with people that have a 50 times business than what I have, 8, 9, 10 figures, whatever. And they are all talking about similar identity shifts that we are all making. I am enough. I am able to do this. Success does come to me. I'm never alone. I'm able to do these things. We all have these similar mindset gaps that we're working on. And I have added mindset coaching into my programs. I have a mindset coach in one of my programs that comes in and helps with this identity shift side of things. And I have my clients say all the time, it's really helpful to hear that I'm not the only one having these same identity issues, that I'm having these same thoughts, that I'm having these same blocks. You have to be able to identify that you are the one that sets the direction, that you make the decisions, you protect the focus. And so you also have to protect your own mind. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. What this looks like in practice is actually thinking about, it's not just thinking about what do I need to do today? What needs to be done? Do I need to pack orders? Do I need to answer emails? It's what's actually broken in this system. Is this scalable? If I fix this once, does it keep working? What does this unlock for me 3 months down the line? If I do this now, what is the investment in this into my future? It's less about speed and capacity and all of these things, and it's more about precision. It's less hustle. It's more intention. It's focus. The Essentialism book I talked about a couple of weeks ago in an episode as well, and a lot of you guys bought it and have really liked it. Instead of doing all of these things and shooting darts from all of these angles, I'm trying this and I'm trying that and I'm doing this other thing and I'm doing that and I'm doing this other thing. Instead, you are focusing on 3 things that are getting you to your goals. It is about focused direction. And when you have an entrepreneurial IQ, you can look at the data and be able to understand what that really looks like, what that means to how do I identify what are the things that we are really looking at. I just want to say that most brands don't fail from a lack of effort. There are many businesses out there that if hard work alone could get them there, they would have been successful because they were working their little buns off. But they stall from a lack of direction and a lack of understanding of what they really should be doing. So hard work can only get you so far if you aren't making proper decisions, if you don't know how to get you further. Because oftentimes what gets you here won't get you to the next step, which won't get you to the next step. Entrepreneurship, even me, I am still somebody that is constantly learning and growing. I did an AI course last week because I need to consistently grow my craft. I need to consistently learn. I have already said I have a mindset coach. I have a business coach. I have people in my corner helping me learn and helping me grow and helping me push me forward because I'm not perfect and I'm not done learning and I'm not done growing. My entrepreneurial IQ, although it may be high after getting 2 business degrees and working with many businesses, talking business, and I literally research business for sport. I love really looking at business. There's still things I don't know. And so I know that and I have to consistently push that out. It's not from a lack of effort that many brands, that those 9 out of 10 businesses fail. What it is from a lack of direction and a lack of understanding of what actually matters. And that's what an entrepreneurial IQ gets you, is you understand what to prioritize. You understand what you need to change. You understand how to be able to analyze it and really get you there. Businesses that track and review their metrics monthly make faster strategic decisions and end up growing faster than those that are reacting in the day-to-day. So naturally, monthly, if you take time to actually analyze how the last 30 days went and look forward to create a plan of how the next 30 days should go based on what your data saw, based on what you changed, and based on what happened, you actually end up making better, faster decisions, as well as actually growing faster moving forward. Another statistic is that founder-led brands that prioritize strategy before quick tactics like hooks on Instagram, trending audios, viral hacks, things like that, scale faster with actually fewer team members than those that don't. So what that means is that strategy can actually make you so much more effective because you're able to identify what your focus needs to be and cut out the noise. So what we're all looking at here and why this really matters more this year than ever. The truth is that the market is so noisy. Social media is so noisy. It is hard to really find something that's unique in 2026. AI makes execution so incredibly easy. Templates are everywhere. Canva. You can do anything at your fingertips right now. But what can't be templated, what can't be AI'd, what can't be structured into something that is just replicated is your judgment, your understanding, your uniqueness, and what is actually driving you forward. Founder level thinking is the advantage. Being able to understand areas around business, how to make good decisions, how to be able to interpret and prioritize what you need to do. Those are not things that you can learn on AI because they take human reasoning. On AI, you can't learn how to be unique. Your chatbot cannot help you become unique, differentiate within your industry because all it's doing is looking at what's already out there and replicating it. So the founders that know how to drive themselves forward, we don't need operators. In 6 months, ChatGPT is going to be your operator. ChatGPT might not be able to ship your orders, but they will be able to answer your emails, write certain things on your website, do these certain things. At a certain point, efficiency is not our problem because AI should be able to do those things. What you need to do now and moving forward is be able to understand how to run your business so your business doesn't run you. Many people that are early on in business, their business runs them. They just have a million things on their list all the time. You might be able to relate to that. It's not as much of being able to have more things. We don't want to be busy. We want to be directed. The people who win aren't the ones doing more. They're the ones deciding better. They're the ones acting with grounded precision, being able to look at everything, strip the feeling out of it and say, this is the fact. Let's do this. If right now you feel busy, you feel stuck, you feel stagnant, but you feel like there's a never-ending list of things that you cannot get done, even if you're only working 2 hours a night when your kids go to bed after your 9 to 5, this is probably the shift that you need to make. You don't need another tool. You don't need another tactic. You don't need another collection. You don't need another checklist. You don't need another brainstorming session of your content. You need to raise your entrepreneurial IQ. One of my mindset coaches basically says, it's conviction. If you have a glass of water, when you start your business, you have just an inch, just a sip of conviction that you know how this is going to get done. And then you learn a little bit more and you learn a little bit more and you learn a little bit more. And then all of a sudden your cup is full. You're confident in what you're doing. You know exactly what you have to do. You are able to make decisions. You're able to handle problems. What that conviction is the skill set, is the confidence in yourself, is really understanding how and why you do that. So ask yourself right now, do you know why you're taking the actions that you're taking? How much of your time are you actually spending growing on building the business? Do you know how to build your business? Do you feel like you really have the knowledge base to be able to scale the business that you want to scale? Or are you like, Maddie, I got no idea. I'm a nurse. I'm a teacher. I'm a mom. I'm doing these other things. I'm not a business owner. I hear that all the time, but you own a business. So you have to become a business owner. in order to really go there. You need to learn how to run your business instead of your business run you. So when I say that business is a skill set, I'm not just saying that to be like, yeah, no shit, Maddie, business is a skill set. I'm saying that to try to really land it home that business, just like everybody else, nobody is born a business owner. Even though I might have had business experience at a younger age. My family built a business at 12 years old. We bought a business. My dad was a financial advisor my whole life who owned his own business. So, I was doing taxes at a young age and I know a lot about business. I had a lot of like little mini bracelet making and lemonade stand businesses. As all of this experience, I wasn't born nature versus nurture. I was not born understanding the things that I know today. It's because I did all of these things. I was around businesses and I studied businesses and I read books and I went to college. And now I've been working with businesses for 8+ years. My conviction in understanding business, my entrepreneurial IQ is going. You can kind of think of this as every time you read a business book, we can add 5 points on to your entrepreneurial IQ. Great. Now we understand this one topic. It starts with acting like the founder of your business, of understanding that your role is driving the business forward. You are the gas brake. You are the accelerator. You are the GPS. You are the actual operator of how do we get this business forward? You're not just the worker. You are not the engine. You are not the alternator. You are not the belts that are going on in your engine. That should be something else. You are the person driving it forward. You are the accelerator. You are the GPS and you are directing where you have to go. And if you don't know how to do that, you got to go to driver's ed. You got to really go and understand how do you become the driving force of your business, of your brand. That is what building an entrepreneurial IQ is. And this is why I talked about how many people did I talk about that I work with to be able to help me consistently build my conviction today. I have worked with 2 separate mindset mentors to help me, honestly, kind of 2.5, because one of my business coaches has been that way. I've gone to retreats. I read books constantly. I took many courses to be able to learn different niche information, whether it be Facebook ads or AI, like I did last week. I'm constantly saying, I don't know that. Okay, I need to learn it. If it's something that I don't know how to do, I need to learn it so I can either teach it to people or teach it to my staff and make sure that I can operate it. My role as the business owner is being able to look from an umbrella approach at the business and say, is this effective? Is this effective? Is this effective? And what do I need to do to either make it more effective or to consistently drive things forward? And if you right now, no matter the stage of business that you're at, if you feel like I really have no idea how to move my business forward, it's probably an entrepreneurial IQ problem. You don't know what you need to know. You don't know what you don't know right now. You need to basically be able to identify what's not working, and it's probably a gap in your actual entrepreneurial IQ. Whether it's player or whether it's playbook, we have to be able to identify that. And that is how you become the founder and you become successful. My clients, my colleagues, my friends that are the most successful are constantly battling the player and the playbook. And they're saying, okay, I know how to do this. I'm the one holding me back. Let me focus on myself. Okay, I've focused on, we're here. Now I feel like I've built past where I need to be. I'm ready to hold a bigger business, but I don't know how to get there. Okay, let me learn playbook. Let me go back and forth between I need to be able to hold a bigger business and be able to understand what that means for me and my insecurities, and being able to say, okay, I don't know how to even do that. I don't know what the marketing means. I don't know what the scaling means. I don't know what that means. There's all of these different stages, and you're constantly having to kind of outwork the player and then the playbook, the player and then the playbook, the player and the playbook. This is why I offer both in all of my coaching. I often say that I'm a cheerleader, but I also have mindset support inside of my programs because it's necessary. It's something that I found, and that's something that I've recently added in because it's something that I found that is absolutely necessary in my business. If this episode made you think differently, that's the point. If you're saying, Maddie, you're talking gibberish, that's the point. If you are feeling like, shoot, I might have a lot of work to do, again, that's the point. Founder level growth starts internally and then it shows up externally. You might right now be operating at a lower level than where you need to be. You are probably more so working in your business. You've created a little side job for yourself instead of a brand that we're trying to build. And once you start thinking like a founder, your business starts responding differently to things as well. And as always, if you are looking for support, this is what I do is I help people build the player, and I teach you the playbook that you need. I help you become the founder that can hold these things from the player and the playbook. I teach you the strategies. I teach you the principles. I teach you the necessary marketing, branding, all things like that. How do we drive the business forward? How do you analyze your data? How do we really look at your business? But I also help you through the mindset gaps. Yes, you can do this. No, you're not boring. No, you don't have to have these fears and these insecurities around things. We have my program open right now for enrollment for just the next week until it closes. And then it's going to be closed for a while. This is for my PTP program for people that are trying to still build consistent sales. We help you with the branding, the marketing, the sales, and to help you make sales every single day, not just, when you launch, not just when you have a discount. We help teach you everything you need to know to get to your first 100K a year, your first 6 figures, and honestly, multi 6 figures. And this is helping you with your entrepreneurial IQ. And it's something that you will always need. No matter where you are in business, you need to understand branding, marketing, community building, and sales. And this is open for just one more week. If you are interested in really making 2026 the year, it is February by the time this comes out, nearing the middle of February. You said this year was going to be different. How are you feeling with it? Do you feel like you have the actual playbook? Do you know how to become the player to hold it? If not, I am absolutely here to help you, and I would love to help you do so. You can click the link in the show notes and apply. Otherwise, you can come over to my Instagram at thisismadison page, and you can just DM me support, and we can have a quick little conversation and see if it makes sense for you. It's my signature 90-day program. If you love my podcast because you love the information here, our podcast is 5% of what I can teach with my actual brain inside of your business. There's a lot of one-on-one support in there. It's you and I working very closely together as kind of like a business growth partner to help you build this entrepreneurial IQ, become the person, and we are right alongside you, kind of helping you with this implementation so you can jump timelines in the amount of years that it'll take you to learn this playbook on your own. I have been in business 15 plus years with 2 business degrees, and I've read hundreds of business books and many courses, and I've invested $100,000 into mentors and things like that. I'm basically lumping that all and saying, this is what you need to build 6 figures. This is your focus. This is what's actually necessary. Everything else is just noise. And I'm helping you become that person. So again, DM me on Instagram, just DM me support, or click the link in the show notes and apply. I hope that this episode was helpful for you. No matter where you are in business, the player and the playbook conversation is one that is very important. And so I wanted to bring this here to you today. It's something I talk to my clients about all of the time. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always, and I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Growth Podcast. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. So if you love this one, make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss a conversation. If you want more conversations with me and other business owners, make sure that you join our completely free podcast community, the Founders Cafe. The link is in the show notes. You can get bonus resources, access to free coaching calls, as well as connect with like-minded business owners like yourself. Make sure that you rate and review the podcast 5 stars, share it with a friend to keep those conversations moving, and come back every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you there.